The ceasefire, which held for the best part of 2 months, ended without warning. Israel says that it targeted Hamas officials and infrastructure, but our teams filmed children among the dead and wounded. Many of the images are too graphic to show. This is one of the single deadliest days in Gaza during the war. Bodies were laid outside Gaza hospitals that were mostly destroyed during the war and are struggling to cope again.
So just utter carnage and destruction overnight. I was here in Gaza a year ago during the peak of the fighting in Khan Yunis, and the mass casualties back then looked exactly like the mass casualty that I saw today.
The Israeli airstrikes began shortly after 2 a.m., wave after wave across Gaza, and then backed up by tank artillery and fire from naval ships off the coast.
We were sleeping when suddenly, like a volcanic eruption, the strikes rained down, taking out children.
The Israeli airstrikes and the number of dead continued to rise through the day. During the ceasefire, Gazans had started to rebuild what was left of their lives after more than 15 months of war. But many feared that this moment was inevitable. Israel has issued evacuation orders for parts of Gaza. Palestinians who'd returned home in recent weeks are now being forced back to humanitarian zones. It is perhaps a prelude to a ground invasion. Benjamin Netanyahu met with his key security officials hours after he gave the orders to resume the war. Outside the Israeli parliament, an anti-government protest gathered to oppose the airstrikes. 59 hostages remain in Gaza, 24 of them thought to be alive. Renewed fighting could put their lives at risk.
I think nothing good will come from renewing the war and the fight. Not for the innocent people living in Gaza, not for the hostages there under the tunnels, nothing.
Many Israelis believe that Netanyahu has deliberately collapsed the ceasefire for his own political survival and to ensure that his coalition remains intact.
This protest is pretty small, let's be honest, maybe 100 people or so. And it's hard to say whether or not the views expressed here reflect the majority of Israeli views. But a lot of people in Israel, it's safe to say, are quite skeptical about the reasons Israel is returning to fighting.
Hamas hasn't yet carried out counterattacks against Israel. They say they're working with mediators to prevent an escalation. But Israel has said it is ready to increase its attacks. And for now, they have the White House's backing.